be split into three main phases. What we call a generation phase, that is mainly originated by the dynamic interaction between the vehicle and the road roughness. So the basic, the fundamental is that obviously you can have a generation of vibration because of a rough road surface and obviously an heavy vehicle traveling on it. And as far as the dynamic interaction is evaluated, you will have the following phase that is named transmission or propagation phase, where you have to consider vibration propagating on the road substructures and through the underlying soil up to the closest building facing the road. And finally, you will have the reception phase where the vibration will reach the building, and obviously they can produce some resonance effect with some structural members or element of this building, such as, for example, floor structures can have some resonance with vibration induced by traffic. But before evaluating prediction tool, we need to focus on the issue. So I just want to recall a very early study that we carried out about more than, we may say, 20 years ago on this problem. We carry out a survey on a very high trafficked Naples road street, where we ask about nuisance issue induced by traffic and by vibration caused by traffic, and we came up with a very dramatic response of this survey. Most of people complained for this problem, and we also were able to perform some vibration measurement on on an ancient building that was facing this road, and we have some evidence, some, we may say, objective evidence that perception threshold were exceeded by heavy road traffic traveling on this road. So first research attempt was to develop some sort of a prediction model, very simplified prediction model, basing on a previous research task that was developed by Transportation Research Laboratory, and we came up with a modified, what we call a modified Watts model. Watts was the researcher that firstly propose a simplified method to evaluate vibration induced by road traffics expressed in terms of peak particle velocity at a specific distance from the vibration source. And we propose a modified, simplified prediction method, take into account also some sort of road roughness descriptor that was derived by power spectral density representation of road roughness itself. But obviously, we went on this subject, and we obviously tried to develop a more comprehensive and numerical model that we may call some sort of hybrid model, because it combined an analytical model that was developed in order to evaluate dynamic interaction between vehicle and road roughness with a propagation submodel that was mainly a finite element method model. And we obviously evaluate some initial countermeasure. Firstly, we focus on anti-vibrating pavement. Uh, so by means of this model, we evaluate the effectiveness of such countermeasure in terms of anti-vibrating pavement, and we came up that with some sort of pavement layout where you can have some soft layer interposed between stiff layer, you have some sort somehow some attenuation of vibration level. And but obviously in this paper we want to spend some time dealing with trench that can be used in order to attenuate, to mitigate vibration level. Well, there is a huge, we may say, scientific literature dealing with trench that can be used that can be used to mitigate vibration level induced by transport infrastructures. But the main point that we need to remember is that the effectiveness mechanism of this trench is mainly based on what sort of protection you can have depending on active or passive protection. We will go in depth on this definition, and depending on trench material and trench layout. Obviously, there are some similarities with screening barrier that are commonly used in noise in order to mitigate road traffic noise. So you can model, you can evaluate vibration just like an acoustic wave that will impact the trench or the barrier, and then that will be reflected and refracted. So there are some similarities with this phenomenon, but the main thing to remember is that we can have a sort of active or passive protection depending on the position of the trench with respect to the vibration source. So the closest the trench with the vibration source, the active approach or the active operating mode is detected. Whereas if the trench is more close to, for example, the building that needs to be protected or that needs to be screened by this trench, you will have a passive protection. Obviously, also the trench material may play a very significant role in attenuating the vibration wave induced by transport infrastructures without knowing the intimate mechanism and theoretical principle ruling the phenomenon. We can say that the most effective trench or barrier that is able to mitigate vibration is the void one. I mean, a barrier that is completely void. Obviously, this cannot be reached in a urban environment, so you can have open trench or infilled trench. And obviously, the last but not least factor affecting the trench performance is the layout. You can have obviously what we call an infinite trench where the length, the extension of the trench is much more larger than source of vibration, or you can have a finite trench. The novel feature of this study is mainly focused on the development of a finite element method model that can be used to evaluate the effectiveness of a anti-vibrating trench that is mainly filled with some material, but the most important thing is that we try to calibrate this finite element model by comparing the frequency response results obtained by this model with some closed form analytical results in order to have some sort of guarantee that the model will provide reliable results. The propagation model will provide reliable results. So we start from a bidimensional model and we switch to a three-dimensional model. But the main thing is that we evaluate the meshing and the layout of the model with paying attention to the agreement of the dynamic response in the same way where it's provided by an analytical equivalent model. So the first thing that we evaluate by means of this optimized model is the attenuation that we evaluate just by estimating the ratio between the frequency response function in the frequency domain with trench and without trench, as you can see here. And you can see that there are some peak in lower frequency content, providing the evidence that there will be some sort of resonance even if you use a geofoam filled trench. Whereas another simulation that we implemented with our FEM propagation model is mainly related to the trench layout. We test two different trench, a conventional geofoam filled trench with what we call a geofoam filled trench with variable porosity that you can see in the right side of the lower part of the slide, where you have some shorter column and between some longer column composing the trench. And we can say that the attenuation effectiveness is not so good as it was expected. Then we introduce a unique performance parameter that we evaluate as the trench efficiency, that is evaluated by means the average attenuation over a specific dynamic, the specific frequency band, starting from 0 to 30 hertz, where we can have most of frequency content that can affect the dynamic response of structural member of a typical building. And obviously we study how this trench efficiency will vary depending on different layouts such as infinite trench or finite trench that are represented in this plane view that are placed on the lower side of the slide. And obviously, we also evaluated the efficiency just by moving the vibration source, because obviously, if we are interested in evaluating the effectiveness of a trench to mitigate traffic-induced vibration, we have to be able to evaluate somehow a moving vibration source. So we just move the vibration source with reference to the position of the trench. And therefore, we came up with these other results where we can see that the screening efficiency is much more reduced for finite trench. And finally, we can came up with them with some conclusion. Geoform fillet trench may offer valid solution in mitigating traffic vibration. Theoretical and numerical models should be carefully developed and calibrated in order to help designer in evaluating the effectiveness of specific solution. And obviously future developments expect to evaluate some experimental trials on site to validate prediction model and to develop some simplified geometry-based evaluation model for quick assessment in early design stage. And that's all. Thank you very much to everyone. If there are some questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, Mauro. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for my delay. I have a problem with my PC. I have excellent presentation. For me, is a field of my research, specifically vibration in the street. I have a question. Where is the best position of the trench in plan from the original to the receiver?
Well, I would answer that it depends on the specific road condition, because obviously in a urban environment, as you perfectly know, you have lots of restraint that are mainly related to the dimension, the size of the road, and the closeness of the building to the road. But you also have lots of, for example, pipes underlying the pavement that can obviously interfere with the operating efficiency of a trench. I would suggest obviously a sort of passive use of the trench. So I would suggest to place the trench more close to the building in order to obviously screen the building with reference to the vibration induced by road traffic. I don't know if
Thank you,
I.
Mauro.
Thank you too.
There are some other question. We are a little bit late. Okay, we can pass to the second presentation. Dr. James Romby present a potential application of marble and crushed muscle shell byproducts to be used as aggregate in plain concrete mix. Please, James, share your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I will share my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, good morning, everyone. Yes, as Mr. Chairman said, the title of my presentation is Potential Application of Marble.
James, sorry. Can you split to the full screen mode, please?
I've got it already.
We see your presentation in PowerPoint with PowerPoint template.
Okay, I'll try again.
Yes, thank you.
Can you see it now?
No.
No, as before.
Just a minute. Okay. Allora.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agostu, for
Non va, James?
Now
It's the same.
is the same.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
If you have a PDF file, is easier. But otherwise, you can show in this way
Okay.
the presentation.
I try
To-
once. I try once more. Okay, and then if not, I would continue like this.
Okay. Thank you.
Now,
Okay, James.
Yeah.
okay,
It works.
okay, we made it.
Go
So,
ahead.
good morning, everyone. So, the title of my presentation is Potential Application of Marble and Crushed Muscle Shells Byproducts to be used as aggregates in plain concrete mixes. Before I start my presentation, I would like to acknowledge my colleagues that work with me at this research, that are Marta Salis, Marco Lianas, Francesca Martinti, and finally Mauro Coni. The following slides are going to cover some issues of this research. There will be a short introduction, then I will talk about the aims of the research, the case study that we conducted, tests and results, conclusions, and finally potential applications and future studies. In recent years, the European Union has been emphasizing the reuse of waste materials with low CO2 emissions. As part of this effort, it is important to test alternative materials, especially in civil engineering projects. As we know, concrete production typically requires significant amounts of natural aggregates. For this reason, in this research, we studied the potential application of marble and mussel shells byproducts as alternative to natural aggregates in plain concrete mixes. So, here we can see the mussel shell production worldwide between 2011 and 2020. The main producer is China. Then we've got Europe. In this ranking, we've got Italy, that is the third producer with 12% of mussel shells. We must say that mussel shells, the shell is about 33% of the entire weight of the mussel shell. It has been estimated that there are 1 million tons of byproducts due to the production of the commercialization of mussel shells. In this research, the mussel shells that we will use derived from the Gulf of Oristano, positioned on the west coast of the island of Sardinia in Italy. Here we can see in this picture the mussel shell production. This data derives from the Italian Institute of Environmental Protection and Research. Also, the second byproduct that we studied was the marble products used in the research, derived from the Orosei region. Also, this is in Sardinia, but this is on the east coast of the island. As we can see in this picture, we can see the Orosei marble district. We can say that since the production of this, or the commercialization of this material, there are 3 million cubic meters of scraps abandoned in the landfills. So let's see the aims of this research. So, to evaluate the potential application of marble and mussel shells byproduct as alternative materials in plain concrete. We focus on the mechanical and physical performance. In this case, we've assessed the feasibility in replacing natural aggregates with marble and mussel shells in plain concrete in order to promote waste reuse or life cycle economy and reduce CO2 emissions. In this case study, we used the Orosei marble byproducts to replace coarse natural aggregates, while the crushed mussel shells were used to replace fine natural aggregates. Before using the mussel shells, they undergone a procedure in order to be able to handle and store this type of material. So they were placed in oven for 155 degrees for 30 minutes. This is the regulation required by the European Union. Subsequently, we crushed the mussel shells in order with two benefits: crushing the mussel shells, but also to separate it from the byssus. The byssus is that bundle of filaments. They are segregated by the mollusk. So the test conducted here is we must say that it's a preliminary research and it's ongoing still. So here we can see the preliminary test conducted of marble byproducts. We did the particle size distribution, the Atterbury limits, and Los Angeles aberration test. The fraction that we used in nearly all the tests was that of passing the 10 millimeter sieve and retain at the 2 millimeter. Here we can see the particle density of the aggregates. Los Angeles aberration percentage is between 24 24.5, and the material was non-plastic, as expected. Also, particle size distribution was performed on mussel shells byproduct. The fraction that was used was that passing a 4 millimeter sieve. So the test that were conducted was that to prepare 6 mixes. The Portland cement that was used was a cement type 2, resistant 44.5. Water cement ratio was 0.75. And we prepared 3 samples for each mix. That's cubic samples, 450 by 450 by 450. They were prepared and cured at 14 and 28 days to perform compressive strength. So let's see the results, preliminary results of the 5 mixes. We must say that no type of additive was introduced to workability during the mixes. The natural gravel, because we must say that these is a partial substitution. We don't substitute all the natural aggregates, but only we see partially. We substitute a certain amount of natural aggregates. In this case, the natural aggregate we used was that of passing the same 10 millimeter. So here we've got the 5 mixes with the percentage by weight of the entire mix, and then the compressive strength that is between the best mix that we used was that of 20.92 compressive megapascal, and the number 5 was the one we had the worst result. Didn't even reach 10 megapascal. That is the minimum required for non-structural concrete. On the basis of these preliminary results, we did the number 6 mix. In this case, due to the problems that we had during the mixing procedure and for workability, an additive was introduced. Also, we used two other different types of aggregates. So we use a natural gravel, 816 and 48, and also a silica sand, in which the mussel shells partially replaced this silica sand. And this is the mix that gave us, in terms of workability and density, and also resistance, a good performance, because we were looking for a non-structural concrete. So we managed to achieve it after 28 days, a minimum of 10.2 megapascal. So what can we say from this preliminary test campaign? We can say that increasing the percentage of seashells in mixture has a noticeable impact on workability, and also in density and compressive strength, all of which tend to decrease as the amount of seashell increases. We must say that a super plasticizer must be always introduced in the mix to improve workability, and all the mixes except one, the mix number 5, we had values that were over 10 megapascal, which is considered acceptable threshold for non-structural concrete. Potential applications and future studies. In the reduction of density of concrete due to the incorporation of mussel shells aggregate could be beneficial in special application where lower self-weight of concrete is needed and not great strength is required. I must say that we did some testing campaign in order to start to construct like benches or places where sitting places using this type of concrete. I thank you for the attention and thank you very much.
So much, James, for the short presentation. We are late. Okay, the next presenter is Andrea Serpi. The presentation is related impact of index compressor using environmental product declaration. Please, Andrea, share your presentation with us.
Good morning to everyone. I have a little problem with this presentation. Okay. Can you see me?
Yes. Andrea, can you split to the full screen? Okay.
Okay.
It works. You can start.
Thanks. Good morning to everyone. I'm happy to present this work, Impacting Disease Comparison Study using Environmental Product Declaration on Innovative Cement-Bound Granular Material Pavement Layer. So, this paper is about a broader research topic related to the experiments of calcium magnesium sulfate, a new innovative engineering solution, particularly in road cement mixture layer, with the aim to partially replace important cement. This study marries the concept of circular economy and eco-sustainable engineering, aimed at reducing the annual CO2 emitted from the cement production. Portland cement is the most widely used construction material in the world, and its production is crucial and critical to Atlantic growth. The International Energy Agency states that the amount of energy spent annually for this material construction is currently 105 kilowatt hour per tons. For a production of 4,300 megatons per year. This production emits the 8% of the global CO2 emission in the atmosphere. On the other hand, we have anhydrous calcium sulfate, that is a byproduct obtained from the chemical reaction between fluoride and acid sulfuric. We have seen that this material has a good binding capacity, a low environmental cost, low environmental impacts, and a low cost. So we have decided to study in parallel mechanical, physical, and chemical behavior of this innovative cement background material and its environmental impact with the indexes analysis of 12 possible mix design. So, in general, a typical mix design, a traditional mix design, is composed by Portland cement, water, and aggregates, but with the use of anhydrous calcium sulfate in a partial substitution of Portland cement, we can obtain the innovative mix design. So, Europe and Italy have promoted in these last decades some environmental policies with the Treaty of Amsterdam in 1999, Treaty of Lisbon in 2009, and the Treaty of Paris in 2015. So in Italy, with the Public Procurement Code in 2016, that follows the European Directive of 2014. But with the National Action Plan on Green Public Procurement, we started talking about the minimum environmental criteria and emphasize the importance of life cycle assessment and environmental product declaration in the choice of the construction material. So in the present case of study, 12 different mix designs were analyzed. A typical traditional mix design is composed by binders in 5% of mixed weight and aggregates in the 95% of mixed weight. In this case, binders are Portland cement, green cement, and anhydrous calcium sulfate, and aggregates are divided in recycled aggregates and natural aggregates. We have studied 12 combination, 12 mixed design, divided into aggregate groups, recycle aggregate, natural aggregates. At the first, the mixed design with the 5% of Portland cement and then 5% on green cement. In the other hand, the innovative mixed design, first with the 3% of sulfate and 2% of cement, and then 4% of sulfate and 1% of cement. So we have studied 10 environmental impact indices following the European specification. In particular, are very important the global warming potential, the abiotic depletion potential of non-fossil resources, and the water deprivation potential. So I decided to report not all 10 indices, but also the more important and representative of the investigation. At the first, global warming potential, we can see with these graphs that Portland cement impacts in this case are the most impactful. Portland cement impacts are greater than those of the green cement impacts, and in this case, the combination of 4+1 is less impactful than the combination that involves 3+2. In this case, there are no differences between natural aggregates and recycled aggregates. For the following index, abiotic depletion potential of non-fossil resources, in this case, we can see that Portland cement impacts are the least impactful. And in this case, green cement impacts are greater than those of the Portland cement impacts. In this case, 4+1 combination is more impactful than the 3+2, and natural aggregates are most impactful than recycled aggregates. So for the freshwater eutrophication potential, we can see that Portland cement impacts are the least impactful. Green cement impacts are greater than those of the Portland cement impacts. The combination with 4+1 is less impactful than the combination of 3+2, and recycled aggregates are less impactful than natural aggregates. So finally, water deprivation potential, we can clearly see that green cement impacts are the most impactful, and the green cement impacts are greater than those of the Portland cement impacts. In this case, the solution with 4+1 is equal with the combination of 3+2, and recycled aggregates are less impactful than natural aggregates. So with the summary table, we can see the positive and negative contribution of material for each index, and we can see that the innovative solution with vanillin calcium sulfate, in particular with the percentage of 4+1, are the better solution. But there are also traditional solutions that in this case are better than the others. For example, for the second index, abiotic interpretation potential of non-fossil resources and eutrophication potential of freshwater, where the Portland cement alone is the best solution. So there is no design, in conclusion, there is no design solution that is better than the others, but analysis of environmental product declaration indexes are valid tools to better understand environmental impacts when analyzing the introduction of byproducts as a potential alternative material in the construction sector. And then view of the strength and weakness of innovative traditional mixed designs, and finally proposing further parameters of which to base design choice used for identifying the most suitable materials from an environmental point of view. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Now we are not late. There are some space for some questions. Are there any questions from the participant? Okay, we can skip to the next presentation. The next presentation is from me. Just to share. Okay, you can see my presentation.
No, sorry. We can see all your screen.
All my screen, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now?
Okay, perfect.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. First of all, I want to thank my co-authors, Silvia Porta, James Rombi, and Francesca Maltinti. The research is related to the effect of subgrade cavity on pavement, a case study. The paper investigate through finite element analysis the effect of subgrade cavity or urban pavement, modifying the dimension, size, and depth of the cavity. The study starts after a critical collapse event in 2008 in Cagliari, in Italy. You can see in the picture where about a 100 cubic meter sinkhole suddenly opened up and swallowing one car on an urban street. Similar event in the area have occurred in the last decade, involving not only street but building. One of the more important collapse of building occurs in 1987, where a building collapsed due to the cavity, big cavity, huge cavity underground. In the city, the subsoil is easily eroded by pressurized water from the water supply, where it can flow through voids in rock debris, typically in abandoned limestone quarry. The cavity grows until the weight of the overlying material and the traffic load cause the pavement collapse. In this picture, you can see the aerial view, historical aerial view of the city where the collapse occurs, where the carry activity, marble carry activity, was covered by the buildings over the time. And in the image on the right, you can see the thickness of the debris that cover the area. At the moment, a huge cavity are in the underground, and the municipality are at the moment starting with the public work to fill part of this cavity. In our research, we developed a finite element model of section of the street building near to the street. The section about 25 plus 10 meters deep, considering the material of the embankment and supported by the rocks soil. The finite element mesh include not linear material. We consider the elastoplastic material with the drag-and-plug model. Also, we consider different circular cavity with different sides. A small one with a size about 30 centimeter, 19 centimeter, 1 meter 8 diameter. We consider three different depth, 50 centimeter, 1 meter and a half at 4 meters, and three different loads. Not only loads, but without load too, with three loads, 0, 4, and 8 tons positioned under the pavement. The parametric study how to graph a lot of behavior of the system. We consider the equivalent deformation near to the cavity, the shear strength that determine the collapse when the shear stress are measured. We comment just some aspect. The equivalent deformation are not trivial behavior. You can see in this image how with different depth the size and the dimension of the of the deep dimension without traffic load can involve complex behavior. The same complexity we registered consider the shear strength, but we registered the monotonic behavior of the component. In order to catch the more complexity, we plot the result in the two-dimensional axis with the cavity dimension, depth, and load. And you can see the complexity of the result with vertical deformation, shear stress, and equivalent deformation. There are not one solution or one safe position of sides of the cavity, but as a complex interrelation from all these aspects. In conclusion, underground cavity play an essential role in the collapse and deformation phenomenon. The gravity may lead to cries for cavity greater than 1.5 meter. The effect of the size and position of the cavity are non-linear. Small and deep cavity collapse immediately when depth increases with progressively smaller effect of the surface. Larger and superficial cavity are more critical, and vehicular load are more significant effect in this situation. The equivalent deformation variable load and range from 2,000 to 8,000 microstay. A critical value also of deformation occur in absence of traffic load also. Without load, the deformation is greater for cavity of large diameter near the surface and grow less rapidly than for smaller cavity sites. The stress also show a non-trivial trend. For small diameter, a critical depth about 150 centimeters is highlighted by the FEM simulation. The similar result we can also in the literature review. And finally, the 2D maps help us to understand and better represent the behavior complexity. Thank you. If you have some question, we have time for some more question.
Mauro, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a curiosity from
thank you.
from a planning perspective. Your application could be implemented in the design of civil plan protection or risk plan assessment to detect safe areas, because you show some local survey, no? But your work could be extended to an headquarters area, not at all urban area, but can be extended and it can be implemented in the design as a support decision system to detect safe areas in case, I don't know, an earthquake emergency or a usual civil protection emergency. Thank you.
Good question, Luigi. Thank you so much. Because the response is yes, of course. In case of Cagliari, Cagliari have many cavity. More than 500 cavity are monitored, are known because the cities on the marble rocks that in the past for 2,000 years we used to a lot of quarries, and during the Second World War, a lot of debris produced are covered by building. In this particular area, a lot of the Cagliari municipality developed a lot of studies using georadars, samples, a lot of investigation, and there are the area is declared risk area, high risk area. I have a map with the streets and the different place. Also, to resolve the problem, the PI, the plan of hydrogeological upset, involved this aspect and prescribed some mitigation. In this area, I can in some street the municipality built a culvert inside the street, removed for 2 meters deep all the material, debris, and built a concrete shell to put inside the pipe that creates the problem. The problem is created when the pressurized water erode the material.
Thank you very much, Mauro.
Thank you. Okay, the next presentation from Alessandro Carlos. It's correct. Thank you, Alessandro.
Everyone.
Okay, can you start share your presentation?
Yes. One moment. I open my presentation. Can you see?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Oh. Okay, my presentation will be a little different from those previously exposed. I am Alessandro Sebastiano Carlos, and I am a PhD student at the University of Cagliari. And it is a pleasure for me to be here at the ICCSA, even connected remotely. I'm here to introduce part of a work still in progress, produced by the multidisciplinary research team at the University of Cagliari, and I am a part of, which in addition to me includes Ivan Blecic, Eleonora Congiu, Giuseppe De Sogus, Emanuele Muroni, Giulia Rubiu, Valeria Saiu, and Maria Carla Saliu. This research was produced while attending to the PhD program in Civil Engineer and Architecture and at the University of Cagliari, Circle 38, with the support of scholarship financed by NRPP, funded by the European Union, Next Generation EU, Mission 4, Component 2, Investment 1.5, Building Local and R&D local leaders, part of the Ecosystem Aims project. The overall aim of this paper is to propose a method, project, and engagement activities to build the condition in which participation in the energy system can drive virtuous behavior by developing a certain dose of self-sufficiency in terms of management. I will argue that such method of engagement influences the extent to which parties can engage in the whole framework for the collective management of energy communities. To exemplify this approach, I present a still ongoing experience of a solar energy community, the first in the city of Cagliari, to demonstrate how the dynamics of inclusion and exclusion in the renewable energy project can contribute to producing a special social, cultural, and economic context that can adapt to changing circumstances. Capacity demands technological innovation, demographic.
Alessandro, you stopped at the first slide. Is correct or you move
Oh,
on?
it's correct. It's a little
Okay.
introduction.
Okay. Sorry.
No problem. Compared to the submission of the paper, the experiences are progressive. I will also this opportunity to tell you about a further step of enriched. This study is part of the interest of a renewable energy community that is spreading across the European continent, which in the recent years are seen as crucial to energy transition. Following the promulgation and assimilation of European regulation regarding RECs in Italy, there is a fervent technical and regulatory development, which often creates confusion and difficulties for the diffusion of RECs. I will tell you below about the experience of working with the municipality of Cagliari to build the first energy community that is part of project in energy efficiency in 40 schools support communities in the NISOI program. The proposal envisaged an articulated plan of intervention involving about half of the city schools building around which established RECs. The area identified by the municipality to start the project is Piazza Medaglia Miracolosa and consists of a square surrounded by buildings, forming a central block at the intersection in the main urban connection roads in the San Michele neighborhood, a residential sector in a neighborhood characterized by a high density of urban common and socio-economic vulnerability in many residents. The implementation of REC can be resumed in 5 steps. A first phase of technological social feasibility study, a second phase of citizen engagement, membership campaign and data analysis, a third phase of legal establishment of REC, then the fourth phase for the installation of PV system, and the fifth and final phase of registration and activation of RECs with the energy service provider to access dedicated incentives. All these phases are parallel accompanied by training of stakeholders. In this context, for reason for space and time, I will dedicate a focus on step 2 of engagement that will develop it. The engagement step was split into 6 sub-phases. The first sub-phase includes a fact-finding survey and a social demographic profile of the sector and potential housing unit family members. The second sub-phase includes the initial community engagement phase and the subsequent intensive engagement phase. In third sub-phase, the information campaign began with the production of communication materials and tools. Then we moved to the fourth sub-phase, which consists the consolidation of the community. The fifth sub-phase includes the organization of information meeting and convivial moment of launch of the energy community. Finally, the last sub-phase consists in the consolidation of methodology development for application in other city contexts. All these sub-phases are accompanied in parallel by the graphic design for the engagement campaign. At the moment, with the research team, we have concluded the fourth sub-phase and we are developing the activities for the fifth sub-phase. I'm going to tell you more about the activities carried out by the sub-phase of community engagement. In this step, the key actors are identified. 3 representatives from cultural association in the neighborhood of San Michele, the parish priest of the Church of Piazza Medaglia Miracolosa, and the adjunct to the homonymous residential sector, and several representatives of local activities assist us during the extensive ethnographic fieldwork. It's a sort of loyalty operation aimed at implementing the number of key actors by recruiting from among households, initial surveys and meetings with residents, school administrators, and local activities, cultural association with the residential sector took place. This step is required in order to create a common group of members throughout the identification of key actors in the community. Other participants are recruited via the first exploratory survey assisted by the key actors. The phase of intensive community engagement and consolidation can therefore begin. In this step, an initial information meeting will be organized with the stakeholders. This meeting will be repeated every 2-3 months. In this occasion, the project is promoted and disseminated to the local community. A mention will also be made of the presentation of different tools available that will be used for the next step: information material, social media, and the web, but also educational channel. In order to guarantee a greater engagement of the community of Piazza Medaglia Miracolosa, we have created a tactical urbanist activity with the engagement of the children of the kindergarten present in the center of the residential complex. The activity consists in the redevelopment of an old degraded bowl of balls in the center of Piazza Medaglia Miracolosa. The children, with the supervision of the teacher and members of our research team, have created drawing with the use of paints. This activity was positively accepted by the inhabitants of the neighborhood and allowed our team to make themselves known by the inhabitants and promote the successive activities engagement. The communication campaign came from the conception of logo and the naming. The output is a replicable object which can adapt to the other contexts and social scales. References to visual identifiers close to the symbol of the sun and the local transition were important. The name Cerca was born from the meeting the acronyms Renewable Energy Community and Cagliari, specifically to represent the modular and replicable aspect of the project. Furthermore, Cerca in Italian means search. The need to simplify the language codes and make them as effective as possible lead us to choose this option to better integrate the information materials in the space of residential blocks. Like a sort of treasure hunt, the households are accompanied in their search not only for the object, the posters, but also for the each one represents. From the early steps of the project, 5 poster announcements have been distributed in the 4 entrances of the residential sector. His poster will add slogan, variable depending on access point, info of saving, sense of community, on direct benefits, and body. Fixed the text with the properly information data, which aimed to tell the community who we are by informing them that we are coming. The result will be posted announced covering the residential sector with slogans such Cerca il risparmio, Find the saving. Talk the triptych system of modular and accurate information with contextual and non-substantive outputs. The release of poster announcements has been scheduled. Every 2 weeks, a new poster will implement information side by side, not replacing the previous one. Modularity is a pivotal concept. It was important to work in terms of simplification and replicability, producing reversible elements that are able to accept possibilities and remodeling. All this because of the needs related to the future intention of program to aims to include 40 new energy projects in the city of Cagliari. This will be followed by the production and information and communication materials, physical and digital. Flyer and brochure have been distributed to the local shop adjacent to the residential blocks, but the coming month we plan to extend the dissemination of material. In order to consolidate the sense of community, we organized the inauguration of the new glue field made by the children, where we invite the children together with their parents, all school staff, and all the inhabitants of neighborhood. The vice-mayor of the city of Cagliari, the commissioner responsible for the project of the energy community, and the deputy director of the University of Cagliari also participated in this event. This event was an opportunity to disseminate the goals for the establishment of the energy community to the greatest number of inhabitants and to invite the participation of the next engagement steps. The next engagement steps are still in progress and will concern the phase of informal meetings and convivial moment, where the members of our research team will create together with the inhabitants of urban furniture object in self-construction, which will become station where to meet and talk about the choice to made for the foundation and drafting of the statute of the first energy community in Cagliari. Also through the use of a software developed by our research team to simulate the energy function and of the community according to the energy consumption of future members of the production of energy from the photovoltaic panels of the community. Once of the energy community has started, we will carry out the consolidation of the methodology in order to test and it apply to creation of other energy communities in other city contexts. The general theme of this paper concern the relationship between energy community with particular attention of the social absence of RECs. In the previous section, we presented some of the outcomes of the qualitative approach in ongoing progress process, aimed at identifying the main operational models and organizational frameworks, but the place of the development of REC. In 4 steps, we identify possibility practice that could overcome the technical and social challenges linked to the formation of RECs in a difficult residential sector in the city of Cagliari. In each step of engagement, the governance of community was the main fundamental pillar to the software of project. In this paper, we presented the still ongoing CERCA project, in particular of the role of chair within a program that will include 14 new energy projects in the city of Cagliari. Experience is showing us some general challenges that are important to deal with when developing new energy projects. Recognizing the energy transition as a chance not only to expand its community empowerment policy, but also to try process to revolving space from effective point of view and attachment to place rather than merely identity can be considered one of the original contributions of this research. To arrive to the definition of a methodology applicable in other contexts, accompanied by other specific work plans, it is necessary to begin to recognize energy communities as evolving and changing objects. The social impact of the first completed steps show us an effective method and engagement because it is able to influence the extent to which parties, key actors, social point, pivot, and RECs member can engage in the whole framework for the collective management of energy community. The still ongoing status of the practice does not allow to the fully discussion our experience here. So we prefer to present the critical notes. Ok.
Oh, Lina, sono in una conferenza, ti richiamo io.
In conclusion, there is a remaining research question. For example, if is whether CERCA is more widely applicable beyond the residential sector of Piazza Medaglia Miracolosa, applying the CERCA patterns to other contexts, observing how it is changed and adapts to other actors and frameworks, could provide an interesting and fruitful research contribution. We extracted lessons with the overall availability for the transferability of drivers and success factor, creating evidence of the positive impacts required a dedicated surface, qualitative experiential account, and preferably as before and after measurement to track change reliability. Thank you for your attention, and we can wait to tell you the subsequent result of the next steps.
Thank you so much, Alessandro. Very interesting. I suppose that the population, the people, was all very happy to collaborate with the university.
Yes, they are very, very happy.
Which is about the feedback about population?
The habitant is very happy for these activities because they think is a principal step to improve the quality of the
The
neighborhood.
cohesion from people.
Yeah, and now we are working about a new steps to create a sense of community. And in the next step, we create a little example of statute for the energy community, and we hope that's fine.
There are some plans about Cagliari municipality to improve the space, the quality of green and the area.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, and we use the tactical urbanism techniques with the habitants for study what is important for them, the solution for improve the neighborhood, because this context is very difficult.
No, the question is about is the municipality budgeting some
Yeah.
resources to
Yeah, yeah.
the problem?
Yeah, they have European financials funded from the. Oh, one moment, the names for funding is energy efficiency in 40 school support communities. They have programmed this activity for other 40 schools in Cagliari, but they think it's very important. The first is in the Piazza Medaglia Miracolosa, because this context need
particular attention.
Yes.
I know. Thank you so much, Alessandro. Thank you. Okay, we are very perfect in time. We are 3 minutes early. And thank you to Luigi for your pension.
You are welcome.
This is your job to resolve the problem. Thank you, all the participants, for the nice section. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you and bye-bye to everyone.
Thank you to everyone. Bye.
Bye. See you.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Okay. I will share my screen for the presentation. Yeah, I can't hear anything. Okay. Whenever we're ready, I can start. I will wait for you to tell me. I will turn off the sound for now, and I will wait for your signal to start. Okay, excellent. I think it would be the best, okay, if you could resolve the problem with your sound, if it's possible. Yeah, okay, excellent. No. Check the settings, Panayoti, or try another USB port if your headset is connected through USB or jack. If it's through jack cable, you should try to put it straight to the sound card. No, we can't hear you. Sorry. Is it you connect the headset through a USB port or through a jack? 3.5 mm cable. It's a laptop mic. Okay. So you had the headset just for listening, and you have the mic from the laptop. Okay. I think it's something about the settings. You just have to find the right settings for this to work. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I make just a technical question, please?
I'm not the chair, so I'm just trying to help Panayotis with his problem.
Thank you. Thanks.
If I have an answer for you, I'm happy to assist.
Don't worry. We've got some audio in the presentation, and I want to know if there is a particular way to share the presentation in order that you can hear the audio of the slides. That's all.
Yeah. That's a fair question. As far as I'm informed, we will share each one of us our presentation through the platform. So I don't know if your audio will be heard, listened to us, or you have to send to someone your presentation and then he will upload it to the platform. I don't know, and so the audio will be played. I'm sorry, I do not know. Yeah, I think our mic will catch it. I see on the chat comment. Do we have the chair with us?
Yes,
He or
I'm the
she?
chairman of this.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Good morning to everyone.
My apologies.
Good morning.
Thanks for your answer. I will try to understand if I can send the presentation. Thank you, really.
Should we wait a couple of more minutes? Okay.
Okay.
We've got Fabrizio Finucci. Here's the last presentation. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Great.
we can hear you.
This took a while. Sorry for this.
So just to understand, so we got Fabrizio Finucci, that will be the speaker of the last presentation. Is that correct?
It is correct. With me will be Professor Giovanna Campa that will join us soon.
Okay, perfect. Then we've got Nicoletta Rasso, that will be the speaker of the third presentation. Then we've got, I can see Adriano Silva. Will it be the speaker of the second presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got missing the speaker of the first presentation.
No, I'm the speaker for the first presentation.
Okay, that's perfect. Sorry. Okay. And one, two, three, four. So we only got missing the speaker of the fourth, is it correct? International design practice for roundabouts. Okay, I will start to introduce myself. My name is James Romby from the University of Cagliari. I will be your chairman for this session. I must remind you that you've got 15 minutes for your presentation, and after 15 minutes, you got 5 minutes for any questions. Okay? If I see that you're going a bit over the time, I just ask you 1 minute before the 15 minutes finished. I will remind you you got 1 minute left. Okay.
So, may I start?
Yes, you can start. The chair is yours. You can.
I will share.
Yeah, you can share your screen. The first presentation title is Motorway Performance in Europe and Greece.
I don't know what you can see, so enlighten me. I think I'm showing the wrong, because I have two screens.
Okay, at the moment we were seeing the program of ICCSA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will try now. No, that's not. I will try this. And okay.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, now it's on full screen. Perfect. You can start your presentation.
Great. My name is Efstathios Boukouras. I'm a transportation engineer, a postdoc researcher at the Department of Rural and Surveying Engineering at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, from Thessaloniki, of course. So it's an honor and pleasure being here today. And in the next 15 minutes, I will try to do my best and present something that for too many people is something like a common sense or a belief that motorways are safer than the rest of the road network. So let's begin with the introduction. As I said, motorways, too many people think that they are safer than the rest of the road network. And speaking and analyzing the statistics, we can say that the accident rate is lower on the motorways compared to the other urban areas, other road networks at urban areas. But we have to say at the same time that motorways are too expensive to be constructed. But yet we construct them because we connect cities or large areas with less time to travel and needed to travel with comfort and at least a priori based on the guidelines with a better travel safety level. So in most European member states, countries, and motorways represent a small percentage. You can understand why, because they're too expensive to construct, because they connect large cities or areas, compared again with the primary and secondary roads of the national and regional networks. For us in Greece, that figure has been at the lower limit until 2004, the Olympics, and since then we had too many projects increasing that percentage and constructing new motorways. And yet, as I said before, motorways, at least their road safety level depends on the geometric characteristics, the traffic volumes, of course, the composition of traffic, vehicles max permitted speed, and there are too many parameters, but yet, because we use some specific values on vertical or horizontal alignments, motorways tend at least to be safer for the users. Now, why we did this paper? We did it because we thought we should compare motorway safety performance among EU states members, emphasizing on Greece, and then to interpret relevant findings and to identify some of the possible causes for that. It's not easy to do that, but yet we tried, hopefully, I think, or I hope. Among the safety indicators that could be used, our team concluded that the best for this case, for our paper, would be the fatality index. And this is why we used it. And we analyzed our approach through this indicator. So we must say that road safety in EU level has been improved the last years. You can see on figure 1, this is how the fatalities in EU 27 evolved through time from 1990 to 2020. This is the blue line, and yet we have the red line, which represents the white paper objectives. Yeah, we've missed them, that's for sure, but I think that in real terms, we achieved as a European community a very good performance since we managed to, from 1990 to 2020, to decrease the fatalities by almost 74%. The difference between the real conditions and the objectives of white paper are about 10%. I could live with that, but yet when we talk about real human lives, 10% is a large percentage, and we should try to find ways to achieve the objectives and the goals of white paper. Now, for the next decade, we have too many projects worldwide to improve road safety. We have the autonomous vehicles, we have AI, we have the 5G networks that all together will assist and collaborate to find a way to have an autonomous vehicle which reduce the risk of having an accident. We can see that on existing models, but yet it's not quite perfect. I think it would never be, but we should try as a species to find a way to reduce the fatalities from, and yet, of course, the number of road accidents. So there is an estimation that autopilot and interconnected vehicles will decrease or might decrease accident figures by, I think, 90%. I think it's too optimistic, but when we talk about percentages and risk, we can estimate, and then we hope to achieve. Now, about Greece, the period 1990-2010, we had a general slope of accident reduction, as you can see on figure 2, but yet in 1998 to 2000, there was a period of 2 years when Greece had to adopt the European protocols about how to define, I can hear a noise. If it's me, if it comes from me, I apologize. Greece had to define how heavy injury road accidents would be recorded. So it was a period that we underestimated some of the accidents or overestimated some others. So this is why we can see the peak from 1998 to 2000. And again, this slide presents what I've said, that in 1998 we had this procedure which was necessary, and after 2000, Greece has aligned with the European protocols. About some figures, you can see in table 1, the length of motorways in EU 27 for the year 2019 was the best year with we could find statistics. You can see here Greece, the percentage of motorways as compared to the total road network, primary and secondary. It's what you can see. We lack in length, motorway length, but we still try to improve this part of our road network. And table 2 presents the average yearly fatalities along European countries for accidents occurred on the motorways. Greece is, you can see on the first row, you can see the figures, and yet the figures for the rest of the European countries. I won't stay too much to these statistics. Table 3, the average yearly fatalities along European countries for rural roads, and yet again Greece on the first row, not because it's the higher numbers, just how we produced this this table. And I can say that this table does not present all of the other fatalities along European countries' road networks, and we try to use these countries that we had as many statistics and values as we could. Table 4, the average yearly fatalities per motorway kilometer along European countries. So this is the fatalities per motorway kilometer. Greece, you can see on the first row again, but again, this is how we developed the table. You can see the values and you compare them with other countries. We have, at least for 2016 to 2019, we have the second highest value, as you can see. And this is, it was frightening for all the stakeholders when we found out this figure. And Table 5 presents the ratio of motorway fatalities to traveled vehicle kilometers for the period 2000-2019. And these are the values. We decreased the values. Yes, we've managed to do that, but yet there is a long way in front of us to go. We, as other European countries, systematically try to improve our road safety along motorways, but we still have the worst traffic fatality ratios. We've managed through 20 years to do that, to decrease the ratios, but in 2019, as we saw, it's the second highest. And at least for too many of transportation engineers in Greece, this is due to the drivers' behavior, the Greek drivers' behavior. We can find through statistics and through research that us as the Greek drivers are rather aggressive. We tend to ignore highway code suggestions. And the next steps for Greek society is to train the youth, or the Greek youth, on how not to do all these bad things and improve their behavior and try to be better drivers. And there are too many projects at the moment going on. And I think that we understood that it's not just the infrastructure, it's also the driver's behavior. When we try to compare Greece performance with countries that have similar characteristics in terms of motorway kilometers, this is what was produced in figure 3. Motorway fatality numbers for similar to Greece countries. We have Czech Republic, Hungary, Iberia, Lithuania, and Portugal. We thought that it would be the best for this approach to compare Greece with these countries. And we know that a small city is turned out from the map, wiped out from the map, I'm sorry. Every year in European level, 22,000 people were killed every year between 2007 and 2016 in all European countries. Although the annual fatalities per 1,000 kilometers of motorways was significant, yet we've tried to improve as a European community, but also as a country, as Greece, and we've managed to do that. But as I said, we have a long road ahead of us to go. Again, another approach, comparing Greece to Austria, we found that although Austria has some topographical and geographical characteristics same to Greece, we have worse performance compared to Austria. This is the motorways network in Greece for the year 2022. And when we dug in NATS3 regions level, we found out that Peloponnesos, this is Peloponnesos, and Central Greece had the worst performance in terms of road safety level along motorways. You can see here the motorways network, and you can see here through a thematic map their performance, the driver's performance, and the drivers, road safety level. The red is the worst, the yellow is the best level. So to conclude, in Greece we use RAS K1 guidelines regarding road construction. They are the German guidelines. They are very strict, and they allow to have better levels concerning safety, but they are more expensive to be constructed. We've tried our best the last years. We will keep trying. But we have to do more and more and more to improve our country's performance compared to other European countries. We need to do an in-depth examination, taking all the information from stakeholders and the police authorities, and to try to understand all the characteristics and the reasons for these accidents, especially with fatalities. We think that it is our duty to do that, and we're preparing our next steps in order to complete the next level of our approach and to identify the reasons as recorded. That's that's it from me. Thank you for your attention. These are the references. I hope I concluded within the time limit. Thank you.
You did perfectly. Yes, just the inside. Are there any questions for this very interesting presentation? I've got one question, if I may.
Yep.
Is it a problem of costs, and also is there a need and an expectation from the population that more motorways must be constructed?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Thank you for your question. People, based on the fact that it's a common sense and true belief to them that motorways are safer than the other road network, they do ask and for the more motorways, the network to be to increase the length, to increase their number, but due to the fact that northern Greece, we have too many mountains, it's rather difficult to construct these motorways, especially when we try to connect Epirus with Macedonia and Thrace. That's the Egnatiavos, the newest, the most recent motorway in Greece. The cost was double than the one projected. So we have too many tunnels to be dug, we have too many bridges to construct. So it was not easy for all Greek governments through these years to find the sources to construct Egnatiavos. And this is why, and of course, the financial problems of Greece the last 10 years led to this fact. Egnatiavos is about to be sold and be moved from a public entity to a private entity. Because the cost of maintaining these motorways is high. It's too expensive for the Greek government to do that. But yet, for the people, it's something that they ask because they realize that motorways are safer, and of course, they are more comfort to use them, less time travel. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well,
Turn off my sound now. Best of luck to the other presenters. Thank you.
thank you. So we carry on with the second presentation that is about execution time experiments to solve capacitated vehicle routing problem. I give this to Adriano Silva.
Yeah.
Okay, you can
Yeah, I
start.
will just share my screen. Right?
Okay. Okay, we can see it.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so just a second, I need the pointer. Okay, so good morning. My name is Adriano Silva, as the chair already mentioned. Oh, yeah, sorry. Is everything okay?
No, we've got, at the moment, we've got one page, but it's not the beginning of the presentation. It's a...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me try again. It's because I have two screens and maybe...
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I found the problem. Just a second, please, sorry.
No problem.
So I believe now that you see my screen now, right?
Yes, we can. Perfect. We got the presentation. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So as the chair already mentioned, my name is Adriano Silva. I'm a PhD student of Chemical and Biological Engineering at the Faculty of Engineering of the University of Portugal. And today I will present my work that is related to exploring the execution time as a key parameter to solve the capacitated vehicle routing problem. So this presentation is divided into the following contents, in which I will begin speaking about the motivation, then I will move to the objectives, the methodology, the results, and then the conclusions and future work. So to begin with, here we have the global population with a sharp increase in the last years, which will demand for more efficient and sustainable operation to attend increasing demand for services in a wide range of sectors. Okay. So One of the sectors that might face some problems related to the high demand is the housing, public services, as well as the transportation sector. So, for instance, delivery services demands have already been increasing significantly throughout the whole world. Here we can see some real data regarding the number of parcels in millions delivered from 2014 to 2021, and some real data here for European countries. And here you can see the increases in percentages. I had some problems in here. Can someone just confirm that you're still there?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit sliding here, the presentation. Thank you. So one strategy commonly explored to evaluate the optimization and delivery or pickup services is the formulation of the problem, the mathematical formulation to be solved by optimization algorithms. In this particular strand, the vehicle routing problem has emerged. So the problems have the three main agents. The first one is the central depot, then we have the vehicle, and also we have the customer. So the objective in these problems, I think it's pretty clear, that is to find the shortest path to serve all the customers using the fleet that is available. So through the years, several mathematical formulations were introduced in the literature with the goal to increase the complexity of the problem and consider constraints to improve the similarity of the formulation with the real scenarios. Still, the objective is always focused in finding the shortest path, which will also impact the route cost, of course, and some other aspects, such as the environmental aspect. Now, for the constraints, the most explored constraints are the capacity and time windows constraints. The first one is related to the truck's capacities not be overcome. And also the second one is related to the customers with the specific time windows to be visited. Overall, the literature in this particular field is enriched with formulation and also algorithms applied to solve the problems, but the authors do not evaluate the feasibility of their solution considering the execution time. Now, an important variant of the vehicle routing problem have been also arisen in the literature, in this case, the dynamic vehicle routing problem. In this formulation, the routes are planned dynamically rather than the old static approach, which demands for faster algorithms. Now, analyzing the literature for the word clouds of most relevant keywords among the studies published dealing with capacitated vehicle routing problems, that is the specific variant of the VRP I will study here in this and present to you, and the execution time for both the Scopus and Web of Science. And here we can already see some algorithm names such as genetic algorithm and colony optimization, and also some local search algorithms that were already explored in this particular field. So one example for application studied in the literature is the waste collection problem that is pretty much similar to the capacitated vehicle routing problem, with some modifications related to the waste collection tasks, such as the collection of only one type of waste and the route modification based on the need to collect a dumpster that became full during the route execution. But the problem is pretty much the same as the capacitated vehicle routing problem. Now, another example that is pretty interesting and more recent is the vehicle routing problem formulation using electric vehicles. In this formulation, the vehicle needs to remake the route plan once the battery is getting low. In this situation, the truck needs to visit a charging spot before to proceed with the task that he has been ascribed for. Now, another application reported in the literature less frequently, but still very important, is the relief systems. In this particular approach, the route needs to be planned with severe urgency so the vehicle can attend people that needs to be rescued. In this particular situation, most important criterion to be evaluated is the demand criterion, demand level of each person demanding for services, and of course, the ability of the algorithm to find the shortest path as fast as possible. So considering how challenging the task is, there are a few studies devoted to exploring other alternative solutions to increase the feasibility of the algorithm for some important applications. It is also rather complicated or even impossible to compare different algorithms' performances in this approach due to the utilization of different data among the studies published. Of course, the utilization of real data to run the algorithm is very important to demonstrate the efficiency and feasibility of the solution, but this limits the comparison between different approaches. So with all of this in mind, the goal of the present study was to evaluate the capacity of guided local search. There is a meta-heuristic algorithm available in the open source OR tools to solve the capacitated Fiat routing problem considering execution times from 1 to 10 seconds as a stop criterion. Now, another long run of 6 minutes was also performed for comparison with the results obtained previously. For this purpose, we used the Algehat database to evaluate the algorithm with data that can easily be used by other authors in the future that want to benchmark their solution with the one presented in here. So this database is comprised of 27 instances, and each name carries the information regarding the number of clients denoted by N and the number of trucks used in this instance, that is denoted by K. Trucks capacity are all the same, 100 units, and client demands are all different, but the tightness is never bigger than 1. So for those of you who are not familiar with this parameter, it is basically the ratio between the sum of all demands and the sum of all trucks capacities. Now, here is the mathematical formulation of the capacitated vehicle routing problem. The formulation of the CVRP considered in this study. The objective is to minimize the total distance under the constraints shown in here. Now, the most important constraint is the one in equation 2 that ensures trucks will carry only a limited amount of cargo based on their capacity. The other constraints are related to ensuring the continuity of the route. So the optimal distance in this work was always found within the highest execution time, 6 minutes in this case, as expected, and the results are shown in here in these graphs. As you can see, a comparison between the results obtained with guided local search, in this case GLS, with the optimal distance reported, the best known solution in the literature. So we have a lot of instances, so there's a lot of information, but I will summarize later for you, because here we can see different performances comparing the result obtained by guided local search and the best known solution. So to summarize, with the 6 minutes of execution time, guided local search was able to overcome almost 63% of the best known solutions reported in the literature. And the ones that the algorithm failed to overcome had a tightness higher than 0.95, which actually makes sense because the algorithm would probably need more time to escape the local minima. Now, getting back to what is more interesting for us, because I was only trying to understand if the guided local search had potential to overcome the best known solutions with the highest execution time. But here I wanted to evaluate lower execution times to understand if this algorithm can be used for dynamic vehicle routing problems in the future. So here we have the results obtained for the sum of all distances considering the execution times from 1 to 10 seconds. As you can see, there was an improvement, clear improvement observed, increasing the execution time from 1 to 10 seconds. Here I would like to highlight that it's possible to observe a higher improvement in the first 5 seconds of increase from 1 to 5 seconds compared to 5 to 10 seconds. But I will discuss this with more detail now, because here in your left, we have a graph that is showing the percentage of best known solutions that were overcome according to the execution time used. We can see a sharp increase from 9 to 10 seconds of best solutions overcome, and from 10 also to 360 seconds, we also had a significant increase. However, if we see the graph in your right, the graph in your right is representing what is the relative improvement. In other words, what is the improvement in distance shortening according to the increase in the execution time. So you can see that for low execution time, we have a higher efficiency of the algorithm because the execution time is being able to return a significant improvement in distance shortening. However, for 360 seconds, we had a value less than a unit, which means that for each second we increased the execution time, we didn't even improve one unit. So maybe and also considering dynamic vehicle routing problems that demands fast solutions to find the shortest path, maybe 360 seconds would not be feasible as the time span I'm evaluating in here from 1 to 10 seconds. So some authors also reported a correlation between the performance of meta-heuristic algorithms with the set tightness in the literature, but here I could not observe the high correlation between the parameters, as you can see in your left, that I tried to understand what is the relation between distance improvement and the tightness of the set. The correlation was not so high. However, considering the set, the system size, the number of clients, I could observe the higher correlation between the improvement upon increasing the execution time and the system size. So I have also evaluated what is the CO2 emission considering the distances run in for each one of the execution times. As you can see, the graph is pretty much similar to the other one, but here I'm speaking in terms of CO2 emission, which is very important environmentally speaking. So as you can see, there is a significant reduction of the CO2 emission as expected, but in numbers, this would mean up to 5 tons of CO2 emissions that could be avoided just by increasing the execution time from 1 to 10 seconds, which would not hinder the application of this algorithm for dynamic situations. So to conclude, the distance shortening obtained upon increasing the execution time was not linear, as you could observe, which means that increasing 3 seconds would not return a linear increase in the performance of the algorithm, which was already reported in the literature as well. Meta-heuristic algorithms have a non-linear behavior regarding the execution time and the algorithm performance. The guided local search had a significant performance in the long run because we could see about 63% of the solutions overcome compared to the best known solutions. The most efficient execution time for future applications is 10 seconds and is the one that we'll consider. Also, route optimization has a great impact on the environment, and some authors actually use the environment impact of the route optimization as the objective function. But as you can see, it's pretty much the same. If you minimize the distance, you're also minimizing the cost and minimizing the amount of CO2 emission. So for future studies, when I develop other algorithms, I will try to compare with the Algehat database to benchmark the algorithm I'm using in here with future ones. Now, I would like to thank for the financial support. Sorry for the interruptions of my cell phone during the presentation. I hope you enjoy my work. Thank you all for your attention. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Thank you very much, Adriano, for the excellent presentation and very interesting. Have we got any questions, please? We got one question.
Thank you. First of all, Mr. Segura, congratulations for your presentation and the hard work that you have done and presented to us. I have just one question concerning your estimations. Which type of commercial vehicle you used, especially the environmental part of your approach?
Yeah. So what I did was I used the 4UD configuration of vehicle, which is the one most used for delivery services. And then I tried to look on the literature for what is the average emission of CO2 for these trucks. So the calculation is pretty much basic because you have the average value. So then you just need to convert for CO2 emissions with the distances run.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
If I may say something, Mr. Roby, I had news from the presenters of presentation number 4. Unfortunately, they won't be able to present it because their presenter is having a personal issue rather important, and so they will not be able to present.
Okay. As long as we know, we won't wait. Okay. Thank you very much for the information. Thank you very much. So we can carry on. Now we got the third presentation that will be done by Nicoletta Rosso, and the title is Analysis of Impact on the Safety and Sustainability of Vehicular Traffic in the Landslide Area of Olbia Costa Smeralda Airport. Please,
Okay.
Nicoletta, you can share your presentation.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman and colleague present. I'm gonna show you to share the presentation. That's a minute. Do you see the presentation?
Not yet.
Now?
No.
No. Because I clicked the presentation better. Okay, I try again. Sorry, just a minute. Okay. Probably. Okay, now? Do you see it?
No.
Oh.
Are you clicking the little button next to the camera button with the screen and the arrow inside?
Okay, because I'm clicking. Yeah, no, I shared. Sorry, this is blocked. Just a minute. Okay, no, it's blocked. Now the PC doesn't work. Sorry, not.
You can refresh maybe.
Yeah, no, I can
Sometimes
refresh, but it's blocked now. James, if you're gonna go on because
yes,
I have
we
the
can go
problem,
on with
sorry.
the next presentation and we come back
Yeah,
to
sorry.
you. Okay, and we can manage to resolve the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got our fifth, that it comes the fourth presentations is by Fabrizio Finucci. Is that correct? Fabrizio, are you there?
Okay, try again.
Yes, I'm here. I just because I didn't expect this jump. And
yes, sorry. Can you manage to do your presentation so we give some time to Nicoletta to resolve the issue?
I'll try again. Yes. Problem. Okay.
Just a second. We'll see. Will you want to try again?
I'm just.
Okay. I think Nicoletta solved her issue.
I will try again. Yeah. Okay. Start. Okay.
Put full screen your presentation, and I think it will work.
Yeah, full screen, but now okay. Va bene.
Okay.
I'm preparing. If there are some problems, just I'm calling.
Nicoletta, you must put it on full screen because I can see your presentation is only on
full screen. Okay, so you've seen. Did you see now?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now probably because some slide switch. Okay. Now I try. Try again. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for the delay.
No problem. I just say to Fabrizio that we will come to you later. Okay. We continue with Nicoletta.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And
sorry for the problem.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Nicoletta Rasso, and first of all, I wanted to make thanks my colleague, Professor Mauro Coni and Professor Francesca Maltinti, with whom we made this study in 2022 that I'm going to present you. There I have to go. Okay, let's start the presentation, fortunately. Okay, the overall level of service of an airport depends on the levels of service of individual components, such as check-in, departure lounge, landside, and socioeconomic variables. Parking is an integral part of the landside, and its operation affects the level of service of an airport. Therefore, carside and access roadway are two important segments of the terminal that need in-depth analysis to identify their operational characteristics. Regulation of accessibility to landside area of airports arises from the need to ensure a multiplicity of aspects. The most important is to organize and regulate according to hierarchy of priority vehicle access to the area in orderly, safe and controller manner. The ordinance issued by the Italian Civil Aviation Authority, which governs the management of spaces and regulated access, establishes that the access to the short-term parking is free of charge for 50 minutes and for a maximum of 3 consecutive daily access. At Olbia Costa Smeralda Airport, some operators appealed to the Regional Administrative Tribunal, TAR, to remove this limitation. Traffic on airport roads differs significantly from that in ordinary roads due to the highly restricted geometry, the different traffic composition, and the travel expectation. There is a difference between traffic conditions within the same lane side. The access on and transit road network is characterized by traffic flows with driving style typical of rural areas, while the road network of the landside area is more akin to that of urban areas, both in terms of low travel speed and the mix of traffic composition and the multitude of maneuvers permitted. Curbside roadways are one-way roadways which are placed directly from the terminal buildings, where vehicles stop to pick up and drop off airline and non-airline passenger and their luggage. The user basis is also different from the types of road. They can be summarized as in this slide. The airport directional sign often provide more information, that is more line of text in the same side than the one of public roads, because of multiple and concentrated area and service to reach. Due to the number, size, and complexity of sign, motorists may not notice regulatory sign and or restriction, or due to information overload, slow down to acquire all the necessary information causing slowdowns. On airport roads, operate more than 10 types of ground transportation services. Courtesy vehicles, door-to-door vans, bus, and the other large vehicles may account for 10% to 20% of traffic volume. Most airport passengers and their accompanying are not frequent users and are often unfamiliar with the airport and the access road. The mental workload of the occasional driver is either as there are multiple facilities to be reached, arrival, departure terminal areas, time differentiated parking areas, transport service area, etc. Although most drivers of private vehicles rarely use an airport, 20% to 30% of the vehicles on airport roads are driven by professionals. These, like commuters and regular users, are familiar with the airport roads and therefore have a more casual driving style than unfamiliar users. The presence of large number of pedestrians crossing either at zebra crossing or without rules or attention to traffic constitutes an additional element of risk for traffic safety. Finally, the mental workload a motorist faces on airport roads due to the characteristic just listed is a risk factor. The stressful conditions stems from the knowledge that small delays or wrong turns can cause delays that affect the rest of the travel chain up, in extreme case, the loss of the flight. The ENAC Ordinance of March 2019 regulates vehicular circulation on the state-owned area of Olbia Airport open to public use. The article of interest are 8 and 13. The first, in consideration of the safety of vehicle movement, limits the duration of parking to 30 minutes. In addition, again in consideration of the safety requirement of vehicular and pedestrian transit and the characteristic of vehicular floors in the vicinity of the air terminal, allowance entry is allowed up to a cumulative maximum of 3 entries per day with the same vehicles. Article 13 defines the area where the load and unload of passenger of rental with driver can take place according to the size of the buses. In the face of this, a remote parking company appealed against ENAC and the airport management company for the annulment of the measure of the delay limitation of the 3 for charge to only 3 daily passes per car. The TAR found the appeal to be well-founded, as it concluded that collective transport, whether public or private, reduces traffic and does not increase it. The last statement deserves further consideration. In some cases, it is clear that collective transport may reduce vehicular traffic circulating on ordinary roads, but on the other hand, it significantly increases pedestrian flow and conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles. Moreover, the peculiarity of this type of service does not reduce the flows of cars at all, but rather increase it. In fact, They themselves generate and continuous flow in the short and parking area to accompany their customer passenger who, if they had gone to the airport independently, will certainly not have gone through the short and parking area, but through the long-term parking area. Olbia Costa Smeralda Airport serves a commercial passenger traffic of about 2.9 million. Looking at the data for the first 6 months in green, it can be seen that the traffic trends follow that prior to the downturn due to the pandemic years in blue, which suggests that the alignment will continue for the following months as well. However, the aspect to be highlighted in the airport's tourism vocation, serving traffic mainly belonging to the leisure segment, which characterized its market seasonality. In fact, 78% of traffic is handled in the 5 months between May and September, month in which traffic exceeded the average monthly values. As a result of the ordinance, operators specialized in the business of remote parking and car rental have 3 operators have negotiated and came to an agreement. 1 operator have relocated with rent a car area, and 2 operators have ceased operations. Ultimately, they agreed to 2 important conditions: to be subject to a fee and to perform the service with the main parking rental area. The effects of the above ordinance can be seen by comparing the data of access to the short-term parking area in the pre-ordinance period, May-September 2018, with the same period in 2019. The opposite trends recorded at the start of the pandemic period are direct consequence, the former of the ENAC regulation of the airport roads and airport side spaces, the latter of the decay of the same following the TAR ruling. Delving into the issue of multiple passages, the graph shows the processing of data referring to the transit in the short stop area and extracted on the day of July 22. Since the license plate of the car is recorded at each passage, the processing of the data made it possible to identify the number of passages made by each vehicle. A total of 4.2 thousand vehicles passed through the area for a total number of passages of 5.2 thousand. Of these, 572 cars transit multiple times, generating 1.5 thousand additional transit. Limiting the analysis to vehicles that have accessed more than 3 times, their in absolute values are 84, which translate into transit are worth 484 transit. These multiple passes ranging from 4 up to a maximum of 13 and 14 for 2 individual operators respectively are made throughout the day, which confirms the operation of private collective transport services. The parking lots at Olbia Costa Smeralda Airport are located in front of and at maximum distance from the terminal entrance of about 150 meters. There are over 1.1 thousand parking spaces available, and they are divided in 3 sectors. The short distance means that they are absolutely walkable. Access to Sector C is through the gate located in the west area, where there are 4 traffic lanes, starting from 4 traffic lanes. Starting from the right, we have the first is intended for access by government and emergency agency, cargo unloading vehicles, cabs, and the vehicles destined for the previously authorized bus parking. The second is an access lane in which parking is not allowed. In this lane, only the loading and unloading of passengers is permitted. And finally, the last 2 lanes provide access to the short stop area, where arriving vehicles can park for free for a time equal to 15 minutes. The distance between the air terminal and the short and long stop areas is 23 meters and 44 meters respectively. The inconvenience generated to passenger in reaching the long stop compared to the short stop is insignificant, i.e. 21 meters more, compared to the aggravation of traffic and safety condition in the area in front of the air terminal. Wanted to quantify numerically the loss of time for a passenger, assuming average walking speed of 1 meter per second, it is about 21 seconds. Conversely, from a survey conducted by the manager company, the average time to make a parking space within the short stop area was found to be no less than 90 seconds. Referring to the data of the short-term parking area transit on July 22, for each individual transit, they have a cumulative time loss of 572 seconds. The imagine highlight the incompatibility of this service with the area under consideration, both in terms of the size of the vehicles, for which those larger than 9 seats exceeding the size of a regular parking stall encroach on the traffic lanes, and the way in which passenger loading and unloading operations are carried out, often with the traffic lanes and or in areas that are not permitted, with what this implies in terms of safety and traffic fluidity of private user. The additional 21 meters route to long-term parking is indicated by a pedestrian segment protected by canopies. This system not only protects the pedestrian from rain or sun in the warmer months, but also provides excellent visibility of the pedestrian route to ensure their safety, unlike the random crossing of the individual pedestrian. In conclusion, it was found that the annulment of Article 8 of the ENAC ordinance was actually created a worsening of the situation, primarily by causing multiple passages with inevitable repercussion on security. In addition, the following phenomena were observed: creation of parasitic traffic in curbside road, continuous rotation of parking payment evaders created additional use of the infrastructure, accelerating wear and tear on the roadway and automatic access system. There is an objective confusion between authorized and unauthorized operator. The management company lose control and the ability to regulate the most sensitive area of the parking or the park facility of their terminal and suffer commercial damage from the transit of squatter. Hence, the need for a more effective and efficient regulation that will remark the destination areas of operators' flow by introducing the limitation of multiple access to free. This does not mean taking away operating space from remote parking and rental operation. We would operate in areas dedicated to them, with the consequence benefit of harmonizing the entire landside area. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much to you for the presentation, Nicoletta,
okay,
and for staying in the time. Have we got any questions for Nicoletta? We got one question.
Yeah, again, it's me. First of all, congratulations for your work and your presentation. I have only one question. Would you find it useful to perform a questionnaire-based survey addressed to passengers and drivers of the airport to identify the margins for the time and space compared to those values that you presented to us? Would it be useful to you?
Sorry, no, I don't understand better. Can you mean in the time that the calculation of time? Sorry.
You calculated some values
Yeah.
having time and length that it would be, those values were very low compared to the current situation. So you, I think that you concluded that if you followed the management operator, the administrator of the parking system, if he could follow these proposals, it would be a better situation in the future. So what I'm asking is, if you ask the passengers and the drivers through a questionnaire-based survey of previewed and stated preferences to identify if these values are high or low based on their opinion.
Okay.
Useful.
No.
Thank you.
No, I understand. The problem is this work. Okay, we make we try to calculate a value of lost time that the people, the passenger take to reach the destination area. But the problem is the big problem is not only the time that they lost, but the confusion in the area with the pass of the multiple pass of the transit in the curbside area. The problem, the very important problem is this. In fact, in the last slide where I put we show the image where the transit the professional that carry out and uploading and unloading the passenger is not in correct form, but they use the stall, they use a van bigger than the space that they can do because the regulation of the ENAC, we talk about only the Article 3, that's meaning the 3 passes, but the Article 13 regulates that the van that be bigger than 7 seats, they have to do in the other area, but they still using the area that's not permitted. Because they can, because the regulation permitted them to do more passage. Okay, the very important is this, not the time that they not only the time that they save. Okay, this is the problem of the work. Okay.
The time that they would save, it's something useful for them.
Useful for that, yeah, but for the collective, the total of the people that use the airport, the problem is the no regulated traffic. Okay.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But what I'm saying is, if you multiply this value with number of passengers, the total, the sum of time would be very big. So if you present this scenario to the passenger as a future scenario, they
in the future we can ask, we can show this. You can do the survey just to do a good suggestion. Okay, to try. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more questions? So we can pass on to the last presentation. So Fabrizio Finucci, are you ready?
Yes, we are perfectly ready, and there is Professor Giovanna Campa that is going to start the
presentation. Sorry. So
can you hear me or not?
Yes, we can hear you, Professor. Fine. Very good.
Thank
so you can share your presentation, okay?
Of course. The total screen. Let's see. No, I want all the schermo intero. Perfect. And I'm putting the presentation. Okay, we are ready. Can you see it?
We can see it perfectly, and we can hear you perfectly.
Okay. Thank you, and good morning to you all. I'm going to present with my colleagues. I'm Giovanna Campa, first of all. I'm going to present with my colleagues the first stages of a research path involving 3 universities. As we can see, there is the Core University of Enna, that is the university from which I come, and then there is the Polytechnic University of Turin with Professor Luca Dacci, and Roma Tre University with Professor Fabrizio Finucci. The research, still at the beginning, aims at defining, applying, and validating a methodology to select the most effective and suitable locations in an urban fabric for transformation on abandoned, residual, unused, and underused sites, in order to provide residents of the involved areas with walking distance services, amenities, centralities, and spaces for social relationship. Yes, we have, in the next slide, identified different phases of the research. As we can see at the beginning, we made the state-of-art research on X-minute city models, and we selected the iso-benefit city model to be seen in the next slides. Secondly, we made a review on multi-criteria evaluation models applied to urban contexts, and we identified criteria to evaluate their transformation sustainability. Thirdly, we are organizing a crowd mapping to achieve a taxonomic classification of residual, abandoned, unused, and underused places in urban areas. And fourthly, we will codify the transformations and the functions to implement. And finally, we'll select the optimal locations and transformation applying the optimal computing budget allocation method. In the end, the validation of the methodology will be done through its application to the selected cities that are Florence, Rome, and Turin. Now, here in the next slide, we can see the steps that we are going to analyze in this presentation. And now, for the first step, I virtually leave the floor to Luca Dacci. And even if he can't be here with us because he is in a different time zone, we'll see his recorded presentation if everything is going on. Okay.
I try to open, since you can hear the audio on the slides, I try to open from the phone and I put the phone close to the microphone. I hope you can hear the audio of the presentation.
Iso-benefit urbanism is an urban planning code which is promoting a city where everyone can reach within 1 mile the usual daily services such as shops, amenities, working places, green space, and centrality. Iso-benefit urbanism. This model has been recently published at the World Economic Forum, together with Professor David Bannister from University of Oxford. You can also see a nice short synthesis of the main concept in this link from Polytechnic of Turin. It also partially built upon a previous concept which is called iso-benefit lines, and that was published at MIT Technology Review. You can also read more details in this link. Here you have 3 links which will direct you to some short videos where you can have a different type of presentation of the idea. It is the iso-benefit urbanism code. You can see there are very simple rules, and the rule number 1 is that each building, here represented as a black cell, should reach within 15 minutes walking, which is roughly 1 mile, the following: the ordinary daily points and a centrality. And for simplicity, in the simulation that we see later, we will merge the ordinary daily points and the centrality, assuming that in a centrality you already have all the ordinary daily points, such as shops, schools, working places, and so on. And a natural area, which is here labeled as a green square. The point number 2, buildings should be closed under ASPAS. Closed under ASPAS because is a general idea that you can implement by using different parameters as you wish. So it should be close to each other for at least 1 kilometer square. This is to avoid the overall urban dispersion. And every centralities should be interconnected via public transport, ideally underground or SkyTrain, in order to leave free the land. For the point number 2B, which is natural areas are interconnected and each minimum 1 kilometer square. So if you apply these very simple rules, and we can think at the cellular automata, you can have, well, very different type of scenarios, all satisfying the main criteria of isobenefit harmonism, which is to be able to reach within roughly 50 minutes walk, meaning 1 mile, the points that usually you need in your daily activities, plus a natural area and a centrality.
Susanna, sorry for a second, but there is a problem with the slide, but I'm going on soon that I have to. Okay, sorry.
So in this slide, you can see the simplified version of the model, which is based on just 3 different types of cells: the green, the beard, and the centrality. Where for the beard, we mostly mean residentials. In this animated slide, you should be able to see how by changing the parameters, which now we are not going to explain because it takes too much time. So by changing the parameters, keeping constant the rules of the model, which we described before, you have different type of scenarios, all satisfying the workability and proximity criteria.
In this slide, there is no the audio. There is the audio on the original short part of the movie that says that to understand this model, we should make a cultural jump, imagine a city where not everything is organized around the grid of the roads, and then we should start to consider or imagine a city where everything that is needed is close to this kind of pole, that all the building has to maintain this kind of constant distance among each other, and then that the single node to across the city should be connected by infrastructure that, as well with the short time, are connecting the most important and up-level services that are needed. Theoretically, this model should allow us to imagine a city that has got a different kind of aggregation model that are based on other things that are not directly connected with the grid of the road.
This last slide regarding isobenefit organism, I wanted to show you a table in which I summarize some models. Probably there are even many more of that. But here is the model that I found, which are talking somehow about proximity to some kind of services. And so I labeled these different type of models within the large family called X minutes city or walking city. And well, you can read by yourself that there is a long history about that. And I copy and pasted the sentences, and on the right, I just show you directly the source. And on the left, most importantly, is the dates, so the year, to have a chronologically better picture of these well-known X minutes cities.
Okay, and now talking about multi-criteria evaluation models, analyzing the state of the art, we can see that, and we can show the next slide, that the sustainability concept is a multidimensional one. We found that the framework involves these different aspects: environment, technology, economy, society, and culture. To reach the goal of sustainable cities, there are some crucial topics to work on: environmental research, development of environmental friendly technologies, innovation and equity of the development, economic well-being, and education and cultural progress. Now, in the next slide, we can see how the evaluations and decision-making problems in the field of urban transformation are complex, with a big number of stakeholders with different and sometimes conflicting objectives. Generally, we have a high degree of uncertainty, but in any case, we often find these keywords: urban regeneration and circular cities. And we expect to support decision makers through integrated evaluations based on participatory processes. Now, in the next slide here, we can see some of the criteria generally used in the multi-criteria analysis to evaluate urban regeneration actions. They are divided in 4 main groups, as you can see: economic criteria, environmental criteria, technical criteria, and social criteria. And for each criteria is defined the unit of measurement. Now, in the next slide, we can see that the structure of the methodology that we'll propose falls in the category of optimal computing budget allocation tools that are valid and effective for individuating the most beneficial solutions within a set, considering finite resources. They are originating in the industrial applications, but there are wide opportunities for expanding their use to other fields, as it has already been carried out in the last years. The idea is to inspire the operational approach for the industrial field while dealing with a deeply social and human scale team. We can see here that the method that we are gonna to validate in order to optimize the choices and individuate the most beneficial solutions within a set to improve the services in a section of a city basically consists in these 3 steps. Computers all the possible transformation of the available location by assessing the virtual benefits deriving from each of them, compares them to establish which one produced the optimal results, and finally provides its user identified with local administration with an overview of possible recommended choices.
As we said, in this model, we would like to include the concept and application of the crowd mapping. I'm Fabrizio Finocchi.
We've got 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to close. What do we consider crowd mapping? Crowd mapping is inside the crowdsourcing that is trying to develop again the participatory approach, but with the help of the new technology. When we talk about crowdsourcing definition, we have to understand that it's something where the people is trying to work actively to try to solve a specific task or to fulfill a request or provide the services, or theoretically just is an approach for the problem solving. Is what is called nowadays the citizen science, maybe pushed by the post-normal science concept of Ravets and Fultovitz. We are already having experience with the crowdsourcing when, for instance, we are going to give feedback about the things that we buy online. In this case, it's called crowd voting or crowd dating, or when we apply for a crowdfunding, a competitive crowdfunding, for instance, or on Kickstarter, or a collaborative one, or for example, when we are basing our common knowledge, for example, with the collaborative way of building on Wikipedia, or the crowd creation of the crowd development of the software that are completely developed online. But so this topic of the crowdsourcing is including nowadays the planning process, because they are trying to understand how this crowdsourcing can provide low data costs that can be a good consideration or a good topic for help the planning. One of the first application was done in 2010 for the emergency after the earthquake of Haiti, when they understand that there was a lack of understanding the perfect path to reach the place when the emergency was needed. And with the help of the local community, they were able to build more efficient path. The crowd mapping is another group of the crowdsourcing, and actually is the collection of a sharing process of geographic information. It's particular to consider that geographically we were able to understand. I mean, we consider the geographic approach as an individual understanding of a territory or of a land, but nowadays it's becoming even these personal things is becoming a collective way of thinking. The result is a map that is built collaborative way, and that again can be used for individual choice, or for example for an active exploration or a learning about an urban area that can be done by and with the community. Of course, the important things are the platform that are developed for the where this crowd mapping can be inserted. There are sources that are open sources, closed or hybrid, and this is connected with the kind and the deep of the use that we can do with the data that are in. There are some new applications, but I will be very quick. For instance, in Turin, there was an experience of crowd mapping that were helping the people to understand in an urban area where were the barrier and the obstacle for the people with disabilities. And this tool was transformed in a way from information, it becomes a tool that was suggesting how to solve the problem. So with innovative solution for citizens. There are other applications that are connected with the psychogeographical mapping and the perception of the inhabitant, especially connected with the gender urbanism. And for instance, the Free to Be map is a map that want to say to women where it was a safe place or not a safe place, where to have sport. There are other maps that can be used as indicators for like this pedestrian street length that are collecting all the measure of all the pedestrian paths in more than 900 cities. And then I would like just to finish to show you one of our crowd mapping that is a map that was built since 2007 inside a research team that is in here in Roma 3, that is called Circo Laboratory Map. Can you see it? Can you see the map if I move?
Yes.
Okay, just to show you that this map was implemented first with the students and then between students and citizens of some area of Rome. This map is mapping and dividing the territory of Rome in different layers of abandoned and unused building. The map can be moved. I mean, you can navigate the map, and for each building there are the first information about the description, link, who is the property, and how many meters square, and if someone was able to collect the DVG map of the single building. As you can see, this map helps us to understand there is a giant amount of private and public unused building in Rome, but in a way that not even the public administration know, because this way of building a map is able to reach the capillary information inside a single district, inside a single part of the city. So this tool was considered very useful. We are waiting to receive as well other financing to develop better this map that was built since 2017, as I said, with the contribution of students and citizens. And it's still very navigated as used because it gives a lot of information. I go back to the presentation just to say that actually the target was to divide the territory of Rome and the use of this kind of abandon, or how we call discard, or
30 seconds.
I'm finishing.
Okay.
So these are the category of the building that we were able to map. Of course, there are advantages or disadvantages. One of the advantages that we can have the explanation of the sentiments of the people, but a contra is that we have to validate the reliability of the data and the sureness of the data. And this is foreclose the status of our research, where the first 3 steps are nearly done, and with the red dots, you see which are going to be the next steps of our research team in this direction. Thank you very much, and sorry for the extra time and for the I have to accelerate the speech. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much to you and all the presenters of this presentation. Have we got any questions? So we haven't got any questions. I can say that this session is now finished. Thank you very much to all the presenters. It's been a wonderful, all 4 presentations were really high up to standards with many topics, all different topics, and interesting informations that we can share each other. So thank you very much to all. Enjoy your day, enjoy ICCSA, and hope to see you next year. Okay, have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone.
And thank you to the technician as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.